Hi, welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors, the interview show dedicated to get us up close and personal on what drives authors, where they get their ideas from, and the things that keep them going. I'm DC Gomez, an indie author, and come and join me in these fun conversations.
Okay, well, I am Lydia Mann, and I publish under L.M. Mann, and the book I'm going to be reading from today is my latest children's book. It's called Magic Cats, a Ramses and Tut adventure, and it's going to be fun, but it's not going to be near as fun because you're not going to be able to see the awesome illustrations by Ollie Oliver. And so I would strongly encourage you to go check out this book. So you can see the awesome artwork that Ollie Oliver did. One of the fun things about this book is that this is the first book that was released under Texas Sisters Press, LLC, which is a joint venture by my sister, CJ Peterson, and I. So we're super excited about that. So here we go. Ramses and Tut are magic cats. They live with their mom, who is fond of hats. Their pops is a jolly fellow. He likes to wear his sweater that is bright and yellow. The kitties are not bad, but they are full of mischief. Even though they had lunch, they got into the biscuits. And there's a great page of them getting into the cookie jar. The kitchen is a fright. They get fussed at by mom. They clean the mess right, so mom lets them go on. Shopping with Pops is a fun thing to do. Their favorite store is owned by Mr. Fu. Tut chooses crunchies and a box of treats. Ramses gets some toys and Pops buys some sweets. The kitties go outside to play. It's the thing to do on a warm, sunny day. A fuzzy-tailed squirrel climbs a big tree. On this beautiful day, it's the place to be. Pink, yellow, orange, and red are the colors of the roses planted by the shed. Mom decides to cut some flowers. She finishes the job before the spring showers. Today, Tut and Ramses want to explore. They grab the car keys and head out the door. Pizza is a favorite meal. They use a coupon to get a good deal. Ramses and Tut are magic cats. If you see them, please stop and chat. The end. And look for more Ramses and Tut adventures coming soon. The next one is going to be Ramses and Tut Go to the Zoo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. I have the amazing Miss Lydia with us today, and please tell me that was not an amazing reading. I am so thrilled. I'm all like little kid waiting patiently to hear the next words. You have an awesome animated voice, by the way, so I'm all into this. Welcome, Madame.
You.
How are you?
I am awesome, and thanks for letting me be on today.
I am so excited to have you. So I'm actually extremely privileged because I have my own copy of Ramses and Tut Adventures. You said Magic Cat, and I said I need to have one. It has been kitty approved from this side of the house, so my cat loves it too.
Very good, very good. And you can attest to how awesome the illustrations are by Ollie Oliver. He is amazing, and he has a little girl of his own. Towards the end of the book, if you see, like when they're on the playground, she's the little girl on the slide.
Oh, that is beautiful. How do you come up with the story?
Well, Ramses and Tut were actually kitty cats that my family had. When I went off to graduate school back in 19...
No need to give all those details. It's okay. We're good.
Yeah. Actually, let's see. That would have been 94, 5, something like that. Anyway, I was moving back out of my parents' house because I was one of those little boomerang children. You know, I finished college and, you know, then decided, hey, I can work full time and live at home and save a whole lot of money. So anyway, I was moving off to graduate school, and so I thought, well, mom and dad are gonna have empty nest syndrome, because none of us kids were at home at that point. So I went and I found these two kittens, Ramses and Tut, and so they became, the stars of our house, and we were very blessed to have them. We had Ramses, I believe it was 14 years, and Tut 18 years, almost 19 years. And so I'd always wanted to do a, a children's series based on Ramses and Tut. And I'm not a poet, and I don't know it. No, I was a little. So I thank the Lord for Google, because you can say what rhymes with. So if you are
It's amazing.
if you are a poet or a rap musician or spoken verse person that can like do all that, I bow to your superioritude, because writing and rhyme was very hard for me. And then I was very blessed to meet Ollie Oliver and his wife and his little girl at Arlingcon a couple of years ago, which is a sci-fi con that is sponsored by the Arlington Public Library. And everybody's got their fingers and toes crossed for this year, because it's usually in June, and so we're kind of hoping the COVID thing is all over with by then, so we can all get together.
That would be great.
Yeah. So anyway, we just happened to strike up a conversation, and Ollie, his real name is Dave, but he goes by Ollie Oliver. So Dave and I started talking about, this idea for this children's book, and I had been looking for an illustrator for literally years. It took me almost 7 years before I found Dave, and we just hit it off. And of course, he was a new dad, and he wanted to get his graphic arts business and illustration business going. And so the rest is history. I mean, we hit it off. I totally believe it was God thing. And I started sending him, I sent him the manuscript, and I was like, just when you have time, just kind of doodle around and blah, blah, blah. And he blew me away every page he sent me. We are going to be working on a whole series of Ramses and Tut adventures. And like I said, the next one will be Ramses and Tut go to the zoo.
I love it. So, what age do you think this book is appropriate for? Because I know we said children's book, but that range can be huge. What age are you looking for here?
Yeah, the way I see it is, this is one of those books that a pre-reader can be, can be read to, by, mom, dad, auntie, uncle, grandma, whatever, and then eventually go on to read the book for themselves. I remember that those magic moments when I was a kid, of my mom and my dad reading me books, and um, I don't know about you, but I had one book that my poor dad had to read it to me a million times. It was called The Case of the Cat's Meow. I still have that book, and it's still available on Amazon. So if you
Aw.
if you want a fun book, go look that up. And I remember that magic moment. I was about, I don't know, 5 or so, and my dad was reading, and reading out loud, and all of a sudden it's like my brain clicked, and I was actually reading the words. And so I ultimately would love the Magic Cats and some of the Ramses and Tut adventures to maybe become those kind of books.
It is awesome. It is such a beautiful illustration to bring these words to life for kids. And sometimes that's usually what they need is that visual and the words to everything click. So I think I think this is a series that would do it. How many books are you thinking about in this series?
Well, in my mind, I've already planned out 3 more. I would like to have Ramses and Tut maybe go to the Natural History Museum. That way you get dinosaurs. And what's more fun than dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs and cats in the same place. That is awesome.
Booyah, and I mean, you just think of what kind of mischief they could get into in a natural history museum. I think I would love to have them go to an art history museum, because I think that Ollie Oliver would have a complete blast reinterpreting sort of the masters in his own style. So maybe he can make Mona Lisa a cat, or he can reinterpret Starry Night, or something like that. Um,
Ooh.
and so it would give him just, a way to have tons of fun reinterpreting, you know, master art pieces, as well as begin to sort of plant the seeds for kids, um, introducing them to some of the, the masters of art.
I like the different layers that you're bringing into your books and the connections you're trying to make for kids. So tell me, did you always wanted to be a children's author? Like, how did that happen? How did that transition in your life decided to click?
Well, I am a big kid. um, I am a
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with that. I have always loved telling stories, and in my other life, I'm a video producer and I work with summer camps. So I for the last 30 plus years, I have worked with summer camps, making videos for them. And so that's where a lot of my sort of storytelling creativity came out for years. And but then I had written a sort of a middle grade fiction book called The Nightmare King, Shadow of Dragons 1, and that's available in paperback and an ebook. Um, and so that was my first published book. And I just have a passion for getting kids excited about using their imaginations, about reading and writing and telling stories in how in kind of whatever format works for them. Some kids are, they're more visual and they like to draw, or work with clay or whatever. Some kids like to write. Some kids like to speak. But I just think that imagination and creativity are so key to anything we do. I just think we do a lot of testing in schools. Don't get me started on that. Um, and it's important to make sure kids are academically, doing okay. But it's also very important um, to give them time to daydream, to give them time to use their imagination.
Sometimes it has become a little underrated and people take it for granted that there has to be a balance to their lives. It can't just be homework every day. They do need to have a time to be kids.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think kind of one of the blessings amongst the curse of our COVID lockdown or whatever right now is that kids are still trying to keep up with their schoolwork, but they're also spending time running around out in their backyards and playing with their pets, and drawing pictures on the sidewalk, in chalk and things like that. They're rediscovering life outside the classroom and life off of a computer screen.
I never thought we had the day that people would get tired of being online. And because that's all they had at the beginning, people oversaturated it
Mhm.
and they're ready to see other people, which is beautiful.
Exactly, exactly. I took a walk this morning. First, I walked the dogs, and then I got and dropped them off, and then went and pounded pavement because I don't know about you, but my COVID diet isn't working very well. I seem to gravitate towards carbs and sugar for some reason. Um, so, so I'm out.
That's my life every
Yeah,
day.
exactly. It's like, okay. And so I'm out, doing my couple of miles, and I ran, I'm saying hi to the neighbors, and I run across a mom and her two little boys are out in the front yard, and they've turned part of their front yard into like this really cool fort. And they've been drawing, you know on the sidewalk and stuff, and so we're chatting, social distancing, but we're chatting. And one of them pops off and says it was his birthday yesterday. And so um anyway, I ended up with some free copies from my publisher of the Magic Cats, so I immediately came home and got one and took it back to him. So and the mom was blown away. And but I was just like, let's just share the joy.
It's one of those things, those are things that we used to do back in the day, and then we got very busy. And now we're going back to being unbusy and having to slow down and having to go, okay, what's really important? What's really those things that makes us smile? So that's an awesome morning to
I
have.
did have an awesome morning.
Where do you get your ideas? I got the Ramsey and Todd, which I love. Where does other ideas come from you?
Well, I have another series of books. It's called Stories for Little Readers, and they they're for the sort of pre-reader, beginning reader. Let's learn to count, work on colors, and that sort of thing. Um, and those literally were an experiment before I got to the Magic Cats, because I was like, you know what? I need to figure out all of this sort of publishing side of things. For my little experiments, but I've had a lot of fun doing them. Had in mind for those books is the parent or the grandparent, out there trying to find content to, quality content to share with their children. And so all of my books, except one, are available on Kindle Unlimited for free. My thought is they can get an introduction to the books, on the computer or an iPad or whatever. And then if they want to get the hard copy, then they can order that. And there's only one book I have that is not available on Kindle or any ebook format, because it's a creativity journal, and it's called My Super Creative Ideas Book. And it's
Okay, what's a creativity journal? Tell us about it.
well, another wild idea I had, trying to get, again, kids off the screens for a while. It's a paperback. It's less than $8 on Amazon. It's only on Amazon, because that was the most cost efficient way to publish it. And it's got pictures and that you can color, and story prompts and ideas, and just places. It's basically a paperback book that is for kids, and kids of all ages, because I use mine too, to just dream on paper and be creative. So, if you have a little one who just likes to color, there's plenty of fun little pieces of art that they can, color. There's puppy dogs and kitty cats, and whales and dragons and whatever. And then there's story prompts like, what if you were captured by pirates, or what if you lived on a space station, or something like that. So the older kids maybe can write short stories about whatever those story prompts are. Again, it's just something to put in a kid's hands that isn't necessarily on a screen. And I'm not knocking screens. I've made my living doing videos, so my eyeballs are on a screen every day. But more and more statistics coming out about screen time in kids and blah blah blah. And so, screen time is not bad, but it does need to be limited. So if I can help a parent, get something fun for the kids to do, then hey, go for it. So that's where the idea for the creativity journal came from.
It's an awesome concept. I like the fact that they can do, write, and create in it. Do you have a specific message that you want your readers to get from your books?
My books are a little bit different. My middle grade book, the Nightmare King, it's for sort of fourth through sixth grade, loosely. I think in that book, I tried to sort of sneak in some lessons about, you're smarter than you think you are, you're braver than you think you are, do the right thing even when it's hard. Um, it's a bit Narnia-esque. It's the story of a brother and a sister who travel to the land of dreams with the help of a big black dragon named Shadow. And Shadow is a good dragon, because I think dragons are cool. Rescue someone they love from the dungeon of the Nightmare King. And so, it's really about facing your fears, and, you know, and overcoming obstacles, and working as a team. The two kids have to work together. And I don't know if you grew up with siblings, but, I grew up with siblings, and that working together with siblings wasn't always high on my list.
understand. I have two brothers, and it always became a challenge. And I think you don't appreciate your siblings till you become an adult. When you're little, you're like, this is not
Yeah.
working out.
Can we trade them in, please? Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
I have two older brothers and a younger sister. So yeah, we were all like, okay, well, there's days we love you and days it's like, I'll trade you in. So, so, and then of course with, my kids' books, it's really just inspiring, um, imagination and just, trying to introduce them to the delight of reading. Um, I was blessed to be one of those kids that read early, um, and it held me in good stead, you know, all my life, especially in academics. And so things that happens where if a kid can read, they can figure out pretty much anything. If you don't know how to cook, you can go, get a cookbook or look on your phone and you can read the recipe and follow directions. You can, if you don't know how to do a math problem, well, you can read the instructions and try to figure it out. I'll just put it that way because math was never my big deal. So
Who or what inspired you to start writing? Because you've been doing this for a while.
yeah, I just think that I was always a reader, and so stories, and I love that feeling when you get lost off in a story. I for a while when I was sort of fourth, fifth, sixth grade, if the book didn't have a horse in it, I pretty much didn't read it because I was one of those little horse girls. Um, so yes, there will be some horse books coming. That it's on my list of things to write. Um,
Awesome.
and just tried my hand at writing when I was in graduate school. That was one of the reasons I kind of went back. I was like, there's very few times in your life where you can kind of block off time to learn and to practice, and so that was my way of figuring it out. And so I did, I took some writing classes and screenwriting classes and things like that, and I figured out, well, yeah, I can do this. um and so that's when I really started writing, um more seriously. But it was literally 10 years later before I published. And that was my younger sister, CJ Peterson. She also is a writer and very prolific. She's got 13 books out. She writes for teens
Wow.
and adults. And she had read The Nightmare King, the rough draft of it, and she was like, this is really good. You need to, it's rough, but it's really good. You need to rewrite this and get serious about publishing it. And so so I did. I let my little sister blaze the trail of publishing. And so I said, well, I'm going to learn from you and your mistakes. So that's what I did. And so I rewrote it several dozen times, and hired a professional editor, and that's something I would strongly encourage any author out there. It's worth the investment to hire a professional editor. I followed my baby sister's lead, and we used the same publishing company, which they were awesome. But now that we've been in the business for a while, we've kind of figured out we want to publish our own books, and that's how Texas Sisters Press came to be this year in 2020.
Congratulations. That's a huge
Well, thank you.
accomplishment.
I've been learning all kinds of things about how to format books and how to format ebooks and all that fun stuff.
What has been the biggest challenge you have faced in your writing
Oh
career?
gosh, it varies from moment to moment. Right now, even though we are sort of on COVID lockdown, I, finding uninterrupted time to write is sometimes a challenge. I look after my mom, who's 87, and it is an awesome privilege to be able to do that. I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, but between that and running a video company and making sure everybody gets fed. And I'm like, seriously, do you really have to eat 3 times a day, people? Um,
The small things in life.
but I'm more disciplined about, I'm locking down. I tell everybody, hey, I'm writing for the next couple hours, don't bother me unless somebody's bleeding. Um, you know, so yeah,
Good
that's been a
philosophy. I
challenge. And
like
I
it.
think, you know, my first book, The Nightmare King, was scary, with the whole, writing and rewriting and editing, and then rewriting after you get the editor's notes, and the whole publishing journey. It can be quite intimidating. And so if you are an author and you're trying to figure all this stuff out, don't be afraid to reach out to other authors, because we're all in this together. And there were some great authors I met at the North Texas Book Festival several years ago, um, who, have given me, sage advice, and sort of answered my dumb questions, and that sort of thing. Um, and so when it came time to publish Magic Cats, that was my first fully illustrated, full color book. And I called up Janet Server Hall, who is an author from the Denton area, and she's published a couple of fully, full color hardback, children's books. And I picked her brain for, an hour. um, so I would encourage you to, stay connected with other authors. If anything, just being able to say, hey, this is where I am in my journey, and have somebody else say, hey, hang in there, it's going to be cool, you'll make it just fine. um and also cross promoting each other is always helpful. So
Beautiful thing because we have a very small community. I know it feels like there's a whole bunch of authors, but it's very small. And it can be very intimidating if you're thinking you have to do this all by yourself. So I love that
yeah,
advice.
well, I mean, that's, you and I met at a East Texas book thing, what, 2 or 3 years ago. And
Yes.
you know
It's been three
yeah,
years
and
almost.
so we had so much fun that day getting to know each other, and then we've stayed connected, and it's been fun to encourage each other, and to read each other's work.
Do you have an author that actually has inspired you or a book that has inspired you in your journey?
Oh gosh, there's several. I think for middle grade, off all those horse books I used to read, I think people like Walter Farley, who wrote the Black Stallion series. You know, that's they're just he's been an inspiration. C.S. Lewis, how could he not be a an inspiration? The Chronicles of Narnia is just amazing on so many different levels. I mean, you read it as a kid, and it's a great story, and then you read it as an adult, and you pick up on all the allegory. And so those books have sort of inspired me, with my my fiction for older kids. I think for younger kids, Dr. Seuss and Pete the Cat and the Pigeon books and all that stuff. My Ollie Oliver, my illustrator, and I, when we released the book, we had a giveaway time for the ebook, and our goal was, can we beat Pete the Cat? Can we actually get
Nice.
can we
I like
actually
that
get
goal.
our book, ahead of a Pete the Cat book? And we did briefly. Thank you.
Congratulations.
So that was fun. I In fact, the author and illustrator of Pete the Cat, right now during this lockdown time, he's been doing Facebook videos, showing kids how to draw the different characters, which I just think is awesome. And that's what I love about the author community. Um, so many authors have reached out. They've done readings. They've you know illustrators have shown how to draw online, and just try to give kids access to content that can be encouraging to them, and give them something to do, and not drive their parents completely crazy.
Very giving community, and probably because we all have been blessed with the ability to enjoy the books that we grew up with. So it's kind of just a beautiful cycle just to give it back to the kids and to
I
their
totally
family.
agree. And I don't know if you saw that, Dolly Parton. She started a children's book library and giveaway years ago. But but she started
Yes.
reading children's books in her pajamas, once a week. And I just think it's awesome. And again, it's just one of these ways to connect children with the magic of books.
It's the magic of book, and like you said, it's all the doors that opens for them that sometimes we take for granted. I love the Dolly Parton Foundation and her wants to make sure that every kid has a book of their own. And growing up with books, I'm like, that is amazing that sometimes we have kids that don't own a book. You know what I mean? So for her to do that, that is
Yeah.
mind
I mean,
blowing.
my parents, they were children of the Depression, and were like 10 to 12 years old when World War II kicked off. And my mom still has one book, and it is, I mean, it's we handle it very gently. That she got when she was a little girl, probably 5 or 6 years old, and it was one of the few books that she owned because she was a poor little kid in Tyler, Texas. Same thing with my dad. He didn't have a whole lot of books growing up. And so, um, so needless to say, as we grew up, um, we became book hoarders. No, but we're one of these families that, there's books everywhere in our house. And so I'm with you. To imagine a child who doesn't have access to books, that breaks my heart. And so that's why I, you know, I love working with librarians and teachers, and and I respect people like Dolly Parton who work so hard to get books in the hands of children. I just love that.
It's a beautiful cause, and we need a lot more people doing it. So tell us, Miss Lydia, what are you working on now? What is your new project?
Well, what I am writing right now has to do with kaiju. Now, for those of you who are uninitiated into what a kaiju is, if you think of Godzilla and Rodan and all of those monsters are called kaiju in Japan, and it means like great beast or strange beast. And I was one of those kids that I grew up watching all the Godzilla movies. I mean, I had big brothers, and so they introduced me to all that. Love Godzilla movies to this day. And so I guess it was, I don't know, back in, it may have even been last summer. A friend of mine and I like stumbled across some of the Godzilla movies on like Hulu or somewhere. And I was like, hey, let's watch this and this will be fun and blah blah blah. And and I had never seen Pacific Rim, so he,
I was going to ask
you
you
know,
exactly about that. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're
I've
talking
seen
Pacific
Pacific
Rim.
Rim.
Do
I've
tell.
seen the first one. I haven't seen the second one yet. But it just like reignited that that 11-year-old that lives inside of me, about how fun kaiju really are. And so I have decided that I needed to dabble in kaiju. And so I'm working on a book right now, and I'll just put it this way: Texas is going to have its own kaiju.
I
Better in
can't
Texas, then
wait.
we got to have our own kaiju.
That is so true.
And so we'll see how this turns out. But I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun. So it'll be targeted for sort of middle grade readers and up. There's not going to be anything in there a sixth grader can't read. So, and again, that's the kind of thing that might get a boy to read a book. And as we know, boys tend to be a little bit harder to get to read than girls. So if I can put a book out there that's got giant radioactive monsters, maybe some little boys will read it. You have done with your Death's Intern books and all that. It was like once you accept the premise of the world that you're writing in, it's lots of fun. So having to sort of come up with a semi-scientific reason that we have kaiju has been a lot of fun. and I've done a lot of Googling.
I'm excited for this one to come out. I love anything that involves huge monsters, and if you bring them to Texas, it's going to be even
Awesome.
better, so I can't wait. Ready for our
Sure.
lightning round,
Fire
madam?
away.
Think too much about this. They're going to be fast and quick, and let's see how you do. We're going to start with some easy ones. You ready? Okay. Are you ready? Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Neither. I work great from about 10 in the morning to about 10 at night.
What that in between is, but okay, you're definitely an in between kind of person.
Today, there was like a conspiracy going on not to let me sleep past 7 o'clock, and so I was like, I just want 5 more minutes, but no. Okay, so anyway.
If you could be a character in any comic book, who would you be?
Oh, that's a good one. Wonder Woman. She's strong and smart, but she's compassionate. So, she rides horses and shoots bows and arrows and has a cool sword. So, yeah, why not Wonder Woman?
Here's your next one. DC or Marvel?
Okay, are we talking movies or are we talking comic books?
Movies first and then comic book.
Movies, I'll go Marvel. Comic books, I think I have to go DC.
Where can our listeners find you? Where is your social media, website, anything
all
that we can get a hold of you?
All of my social media links are on my website, which is mannwrites.com. That's MANNWRITES.com. And like I said, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Mann Writes is usually my handle. On Instagram, it's Mann Writes Dragons. Just because Mann Writes had already been taken. All of my books at Amazon and also through your favorite booksellers.
Well, it has been a pleasure to have you here with us. Do you have any closing comments before we go?
Just read, write. Use your imagination and read DC Gomez's books. You will laugh. You will have so much fun. And I appreciate you having me on today.
A pleasure, and thank you so much. I am so blessed that we have connected and that we have stayed in touch. So thank you ever for joining us inside the minds of authors. Stay tuned for next week's episode and hope you guys have an amazing day.
Yeah.